Another shaky start for Sonny Gray, plus a couple of Cardinals players receiving some national media love as breakout members for 2025.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube. Make sure you come by, like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that notification button so you don't miss any new episodes or shorts that we drop. Also, now available on TikTok, Instagram, at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let's get into it. Sonny Gray. Let's choose our words carefully. Sonny Gray looks terrible this spring, hasn't he? I mean, how are we going to sugarcoat this, right? You can't. You can't. What we've seen from Sonny Gray so far this spring has been terrible. He's getting hit. He's getting hit hard. And there's been very little to get excited about besides the strikeout total, I guess. I mean, that's a positive. I mean, what we saw from Sonny Gray on Friday, part of it was like, well, you see some things that are okay, but at the same time, you go look at the final numbers and you're like, he still got hit hard. Gives up a couple singles in that first inning. The second one from Yainer Diaz, 105.5 off the bat. Gets out of the inning unscathed, though. Doesn't give up any runs. Yay. But then in the second inning, gives up the soft infield single to the leadoff guy. Then there's another single to left field at 106.9 off the bat. And then he serves up a 3-run home run to their number 9 hitter, McCormick, on an absolute meatball changeup. A high school kid could have crushed that. Coming in at about 90 and just bloop, right down the middle, man. 7th home run that he's given up in the spring, and it's 3-0, just like that. He strikes out Altuve again. Again, the strikeouts, he's striking people out, which is good. That means he's got that swing and miss still. He's missing his spots, though. But then a double off the wall in center, and they end up pulling him in that second inning. The double ends up scoring. So by the time Sonny comes back out because of the reentry rule, it's 4-0. He settles down a bit after that. Give him credit there. He did settle down a little bit after that. 1-2-3 next inning with 2 strikeouts, then another 1-2-3 inning in the 4th. And when you start to feel like, oh, hey, he's got something going here. He's clicking. Starting to feel a little bit better about whatever Sonny had done. He gives up another dinger. Home run to the leadoff hitter. Curveball right over the middle of the plate. Jeremy Pena swats it over the wall in center, 424 feet away. Closes out the inning with a couple of groundouts and a strikeout to end his day, but that's now 8 home runs given up this spring by Sonny Gray. And I'm sorry, but that's not normal. I don't care what you're working on. Giving up 8 dingers is horrible. He had a bad second half last year. The ERA at 4.59, where he gave up 13 home runs in the second half. Now this spring, he's got an ERA of 12.56. He's given up 20 runs on 23 hits. 8 of them have left the yard in just 14 and a third innings pitched. And yeah, he does have 17 strikeouts, but holy cow. You can't tell me you weren't hoping for better results than this. From your opening day starter, this is what you got? Like a little sliver of like, well, it's okay, I guess, right? Oh, terrible. And he's saying the right things, when he talks to reporters. I'm healthy. The velo's not where people want to see it. He wants to be throwing between 93 and 94, but he's not quite there yet. We found out he got an injection last season in his elbow. And that kind of put him behind schedule as far as his pitching, like his regimen, like getting ready for the year. From John Denton, pain-killing injection in the flexor tendon of the right forearm late last season, delayed his offseason program. Injury is no longer an issue. But Gray said, but the delay could be a reason for his lower velocity. I mean, I'm a little nervous about this, considering how important Sonny Gray is to this rotation. I'm a little nervous that we didn't see a better result over the last, 2 appearances. He keeps saying he's going to be fine. When the lights come on, I'll be there. All right. Lights are coming on next week. Meanwhile, against the Mets in Port St. Lucie, our guy Michael McGreevy tosses 5 shutout innings, allows a hit, struck out 4, ERA spring at 1.08, has allowed just 2 runs in 16 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, no walks. He's been beautiful. He belongs in the rotation. Will he be in there? We'll see. We'll see if they do the 6-man thing. But, they've got veterans that are filling up all of the roster spots. So we'll see. Cardinals lose both of their games, 5-3 to Houston, 3-2 to the Mets. Victor Scott II, another home run. He also walked and scored 2 runs. So he's now up to 366 for the spring with 4 dingers. Leads the team in hits with 15, runs with 11, tied with Luke and Baker for home runs with those 4 home runs, tied for 3rd in walks. Still leads in stolen bases at 5. Meanwhile, Michael Ciani was over 3 with a walk and 2 Ks, now hitting 105. But Michael Ciani might be on this roster instead. Like, it's so bizarre. And we could make the argument about it. Like, I understand. I do. I get it. I understand why. If Victor's not going to play every day in the pros, they'd rather see him playing every day in AAA. I get it. It just sucks. Same thing with Michael McGreevy. If he's not going to be pitching in the rotation like a normal person, they'd rather him being on a normal schedule every 5th day, doing his thing at Memphis. I understand it, but it's not making the major league team better. It just isn't. Quinn Matthews pitched well against Houston. 4 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, struck out 6. Not a lot of offense, though, for the Cardinals in either one of these games. They did get home runs from Ryan Belade, who's been a fun guy to watch this spring. And then catching prospect Leonardo Bernal hit an absolute rocket against the Mets. That was a thing of beauty. Woo. He swings the bat well. Katie Wu from The Athletic said that her sources tell her that Jose Fermin has won that job over Jose Barrero for the utility bench role. I haven't seen any official announcements about that, but I mean, who's not going to trust Katie? She knows her stuff. Makes sense. He's been swinging a hot stick recently and can also play infield. And you've seen him, moving him around the outfield, trying to get some work out there. So I get it. I hope Barrero at least sticks around the organization, though, because we did see some flashes of the talent that he does possess. So I hope they don't lose out on him. Masyn Winn was back in the lineup on Friday as well. I want to talk about him because the ceiling for Masyn Winn is pretty darn high, even though he's had a tough spring. So we'll get into that next on Locked On Cardinals. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Pretty good, right? That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to the Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. How many of you had McNeese? How many of you honestly had McNeese? That was a thing of beauty, although they almost blew it against Clemson, but ended up hanging on. But man, they were a whole lot of fun to watch. And I don't know if you guys noticed that celebration after the 3-pointer. That was interesting. So, one of my favorite things about this tournament every single year is picking the underdogs, watching a team like McNeese, who shouldn't be able to keep up with a team like Clemson, and then they go off and pull off the upset. It's a lot of fun to watch. It sucks when it's like your team's on the other side of it, like Mizzou losing to Drake, a 6 losing to 11. That sucked for Mizzou fans, but for those of you who didn't care and just watched an 11 beat a 6, you were pretty darn happy. That's what makes the tournament so much fun. And FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. If you filled out a bracket or brackets, that's well and fine. But FanDuel allows you to bet on things actually going on in the games while you're watching them. And it just makes it more fun to watch. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. And the FanDuel app is simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around. You're going to love it. Trust me. Visit FanDuel.com. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live in the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, of course, the smell of the ballpark foods. I've been going through my X account, looking at all the different foods that people are posting. Like, oh, I am excited to be back at the stadiums. And if you're looking to go last minute to, say, opening day, Gametime will make getting your tickets that much easier with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Gametime gets closer, meaning you can score incredible deals. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as opening day approaches, I know I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. One of the great features that they have is the Gametime Picks feature, which makes finding those best deals effortless. It's so easy. Just filters out all the fluff, and it highlights the top discounts in the stadium. So if you look opening day against the Twins with the Cardinals, use the Gametime Picks feature, and it's going to just go whoo, and it's going to give you all the good ones that you are interested in. Plus, you get to preview the exact seat before purchasing, so you know exactly where you're going to sit at. You know what your view is going to be. It's beautiful. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Masyn Winn back in the lineup on Friday against Houston. Significant because he'd been out a couple of days with that sore wrist. And although at no point in time was the injury ever talked about as being anything serious, they never blew it out of proportion or anything. The word used, precautionary, strictly precautionary to keep him out of the lineup. But I was really hoping that maybe a few days off would allow Masyn, who had celebrated his 23rd birthday on Friday, so happy birthday, Masyn. It would allow him just kind of take a step back, take a breath, reset things for himself, because it's been a really tough spring for Masyn after, last year he appeared to be the guy that was taking over as the face of the franchise, and I still believe he's fine and going to be doing that. But he goes 0 for 4 again on Friday. The batting average for the spring is now down to 89. He's 4 for 45, no extra base hits, no home runs, 1 RBI, just 3 walks, 13 strikeouts. Not a lot of positives there. But in case you've lost any faith in Masyn Winn, because some of you might be like, okay, maybe he sucks now, which he doesn't. But if you've lost a little faith in him, last spring, my guy hit 227, no home runs, 1 RBI, 5 walks, 17 strikeouts. Similar numbers, right? Outside of the batting average. And I think we can all agree last season turned out pretty good for Masyn Winn. For those of you who don't remember that, Masyn Winn ended up hitting 267, 15 dingers, 57 ribbies as a 22-year-old rookie. And I remember having a lot of fans in spring training like chirping at me saying, this kid can't hit at the major league level. What are we doing with this guy? He's trash, not good enough for major league pitching. Trade him for some pitching or turn him into a pitcher because of his arm. I myself, at one time, not last year, but at one time, wanted the Cardinals to trade him for catcher Sean Murphy, who was still with the A's at the time back in 2023, and then go out and sign a shortstop like a Trey Turner, Carlos Correa, Dansby Swanson. These were the guys that were available. Masyn Winn's 4.9 baseball reference WAR in 2024, higher than all 3 of theirs. So maybe it was a mistake. I was in win mode now when I was saying we should trade him for Sean Murphy. I thought he would be the missing piece, and he's been pretty darn good for the Braves when he's healthy. But that's not what happened, right? And one person that's predicting big things from Masyn Winn outside of the Cardinals organization and outside of St. Louis is the Athletics' Jim Bowden, who has him listed as a member of his 2025 all MLB breakout team. Basically, it's a 26-man roster, and it's made up of promising players to watch. He does this annually. And the way he describes a breakout player is a player that he expects to perform at a significantly higher level than their major league track record, or to burst onto the scene and blow away the rookie field. So there's no like age limit on this, but just some guys from the NL Central. From the Pirates, he's got O'Neal Cruz and starting pitcher Jared Jones, although Jones dealing with that elbow discomfort right now, which that would be a major blow to their rotation if he's going to be out for a while. The Reds got a couple guys. Second baseman Matt McClain coming back from injuries. Starting pitcher Nick Lodolo. Cubs third baseman Matt Shaw. And then he's got Masyn Winn as one of the shortstops. He's got national shortstop C.J. Abrams in there as well, who's obviously a fine young player. One of the guys they got in the Juan Soto deal when they sent Soto to San Diego. Abrams, one of the guys they got in that massive package. Remember when St. Louis almost got him? Do you remember that? Remember how excited we all were when Mo was in the press box at the Nationals and Cardinals game, and we're like, oh my gosh, Juan Soto's coming to St. Louis, and then didn't happen. Didn't happen. But this is what Bowden says about Winn. Winn has one of the best infield arms in baseball. Even it often results in a two-seam sinker rather than the preferred four-seamer. He's talking about the movement, throwing it over to first base. His throws across the diamond can be clocked between 95 and 100 miles per hour, which shouldn't be a problem for Cardinals' new first baseman, Wilson Contreras, who was used to that type of velocity when catching some members of the team's pitching staff. A Gold Glove finalist last year, Winn has plus range to both sides, which isn't always appreciated because he and third baseman Nolan Arenado often overlap each other. Winn hit 267, 314 on base percentage, 15 home runs, 32 doubles, 5 triples, 11 steals. He's committed to improving his ability to draw walks and hit line drives and is primed for improvement in his third big league season. And I couldn't agree more with that assessment. That not only should he get better, doesn't feel like he's one of these types of players that's, flash in the pan, one and done type of talent, does he? But I agree that he definitely needs to improve on his ability to draw walks, especially if he's going to remain as the leadoff hitter for this team, which seems to be the plan. We've been harping on this for a couple days now, but if you want to be a good leadoff hitter, which Masyn Winn I'm sure does, and you want to steal more bases, which is something that he's actually brought up and says, I want to do this year. I want to get like 30 steals. Then you have to get on first base first. And you got to do it by any means. So if you got to take walks, if you got to cut down on your aggressiveness as far as swinging the bat, then that's what you got to do. And it's not easy to do that, especially when what he's been doing his whole life has gotten him to this point in the first place where, he's a finalist for a Gold Glove and he was one of the Rookie of the Year candidates. He's, again, 23. All of this has been working for him all along, and now you want to switch it up a little bit. And I'm not talking about changing your swing or anything like that. I'm just saying being a little more patient at the plate. They brought it up in the telecast and in the in the game yesterday when you're listening, because the Houston one wasn't on, but about like he just always seemed like he was behind in the count, and then Nootbaar comes up next, and they're like, and he always seems like he's ahead in the count. Like, why is that? Let's figure it out. And so far this spring, you just haven't seen a lot of indications that he's willing to take walks any more than he has in the past, which is a big mistake if you're going to be a leadoff hitter. I mean, I have faith in him. I'm not bashing the dude by any means. I think he's going to be good. His stats from last year show you that he should be fine this year despite the slow spring. And I'm glad he's getting some national recognition for the talents that he possesses because he deserves it. But if he's going to be the leadoff hitter, it's time to just you got to be a little more patient. It's just part of the role. It is what it is. The Athletic's Keith Law also threw a little love to a Cardinals player in his breakout article. We're going to talk about him next on Locked On Cardinals.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, I encourage you to go check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. That's our podcast that covers all the ins and outs about the guys you're supposed to be picking up and dropping and drafting, obviously. Host Dominic Martino and Mathiane take care of you well. They're going to do a great job for you guys. They always have, always will. MLB Fantasy Draft season, obviously in full effect right now. So get informed. Be the informed person in your draft. Set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, when the Cardinals found out that Wilson Contreras didn't want to leave St. Louis, part of me thinks they were slightly disappointed, but only because of the salary implications, not because of who Wilson is or the player he is. Contreras is in year 3 now of his 5-year, $87.5 million deal that he signed with the team in 2023. He's going to make $18 million towards payroll this year. But the human being that Contreras is, the bat that he possesses, the attitude that he brings is not something I think the Cardinals were eager to get rid of. We love it. We love it. So when he decided that he preferred to stay in St. Louis, they were like, all right, well, what's the best way to utilize Wilson Contreras right now? We're glad he's sticking around. What do we do? First base was opened up, which I'm sure was a tough decision because they had to let Paul Goldschmidt walk, another person that everybody loves. The front office, players, coaching staff, fans, everybody loves Goldie. But when you need to cut payroll and you got certain guys you can't move, something had to give. And if Goldie's production had been better last year, then things might have been different. But with Goldie out, Contreras slides over to first base where, they weren't quite sure if Luken Baker was going to be the guy or not. And so far, Contreras has looked pretty good defensively over at first, handled himself pretty well. And obviously we're not concerned all that much about his bat. I mean, the guy can rake. He was hitting over 400 coming into the game on Friday. But the other side of this was what it was going to do for the catching position. It opens up a spot at that position so that both Ivan Herrera and Pedro Pages could be on this roster. And after Wilson's injuries last year, the duo had to take control of the position, and they impressed in different ways. Herrera with his offense, Pages with his defense. If you could melt the two together, you'd have one hell of a full-time catcher. But barring any miracles of science, that is not going to happen. But of the two, the one that has drawn some national attention is Ivan Herrera because of his bat. Keith Law, who also writes for The Athletic, did a breakout article of his own, similar to kind of what Jim Bowden did, but it's a bit more condensed. And he listed Ivan Herrera as one of his guys that he thinks will break out. Here's what he had to say. I've always bought the bat, as Herrera has a great swing and makes a ton of contact, but in a small sample last season, he showed that he can make plenty of hard contact too. His hard hit rate and exit velocities would put him around the MLB median for catchers had he played enough. He got just under a half of a season of playing time last year and was worth 1.7 BWAR. I think he'll double that this year, assuming he gets twice the at-bats. He did struggle to control the running game last year, and that could impact how much the Cardinals, which seem very sensitive about catcher defense in the post-Yadier Molina era, play him defensively. Now, we know Herrera worked on his throwing in the offseason. But he was almost, if you go back to it, he was almost like Rube Baker in the much maligned Major League 2, right? Where he just couldn't figure out how to throw things accurately down to second base. Now, in the movie, Rube's got like this mental block, and it's a totally different issue than what Herrera has. That's not what Herrera was dealing with, but it was awkward. It was weird that we couldn't get accurate throws or bouncing over to second base or there's flying off to the sides. And it was rough to watch. It was rough to watch. And, whether it's his arm, whether it's the inability of the Cardinals pitchers to hold runners better, probably a combination of the two, but it was an ugly scene last year. And after being spoiled year after year with Yadier Molina behind the plate, and then Mike Matheny before him, Tom Pagnazzi before that. The Cardinals have had a lot of stud defensive catchers. And then for this to show up, you're like, oh my gosh. Runner stole 55 bases while Herrera was behind the plate. I got the stats for you. 55 while Herrera was behind the plate last year. They were only caught 4 times. 4. 93% success rate. That's brutal, Runner stole 61 bases off of Pages. When he was behind the plate, they were caught 14 times. That's an 81% success rate. So if you combine them, you get 116 stolen bases against the Cardinals while Herrera and Pages are behind the plate. Only 18 were caught stealing in 134 attempts. And that's in over like 1,000 combined innings, which is about 112 games. Pages defensive runs saved were +3 last year. Herrera was -7 behind the plate. Combined -4 defensive runs saved last year. That's rough. Just for reference, the Gold Glove winners last year at catcher, you had Cal Raleigh in Seattle. You had Patrick Bailey for the Giants in the NL. Runner stole 81 bases against Cal Raleigh last year and were caught 32 times. That's 72% success rate. And that was also in more innings than the combination of Herrera and Pages. His defensive runs saved were 17. Bailey in San Francisco, runner stole 70 against him, were caught 26 times, 73% success rate. Defensive runs saved is at 20. So it just shows you how far apart we are, Cardinals-wise, between the elite defensive level guys in the league and where the Cardinals are sitting right now, at least in 2024. Now, what sets Herrera apart is the offense he can provide. Limited role last year, 301, 5 dingers, 27 ribbies, OPS plus 124. Pages, much lower, 238, 7 home runs still, but the OPS plus at 82, which is similar to what Bailey does for San Francisco. Cal Raleigh is, stud defensive. He's arguably the best catcher in baseball. 220, 34 home runs, 100 ribbies last year, OPS plus 119. But the Cardinals need offense, right? In that what we've coming off of last year, what was the big missing ingredient? Wasn't really the starting pitching or the bullpen, right? Offense. Couldn't generate enough offense. They are desperately hoping they're going to get more from Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker this year, and I really hope they do. I want to see both these guys succeed big time, because if they do, it's going to make this offense way better, like scarier better with what they could be compared to what they are right now. But if they don't, I don't know how you can sacrifice Ivan Herrera's bat so that you can get Pages' defense. Like, I just don't know if they're going to be able to do that. The Cardinals are just going to have to figure out, they got two options, really. A, teach Herrera to be a better catcher. B, teach Pages to be a better pitcher. And A sounds like it's an easier thing to do than B. But who are you guys hoping will be behind the plate for the Cardinals for the majority of this season? You going Herrera, you going Pages? I think it's got to be Herrera. And again, there are some things here that you can do late in games if you need to bring in Pages as a defensive replacement. Same thing with like a Michael Ciani, Jordan Walker. If you're up by a few runs, you pull Jordan Walker, you bring Ciani in, you shift Newt over, whatever you got to do. There's possibilities for later in the game, but I just can't. I don't know how you can take Ivan Herrera's bat out of this lineup. I cannot see a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split. Again, I think it's got to be an 80-20 type of situation with Herrera. But let me know what you guys think. Cardinals will face the Marlins on Saturday, which is today at the time of this recording. Matthew Liberatore is going to get that start. Marlins have hit the Cardinals pretty darn hard the last few times they played each other. So hopefully a better day today for the staff. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube, help our channel and our love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.